I was so sick. I just had this overwhelming feeling come over me before the test was even ready. The whole world started going really slow, and it just popped up and said pregnant. And I was like, oh my goodness.
My whole world just stopped.
I was nervous about telling my parents. I just remember her telling me on the phone, I will never do to you what my mom did to me.
A lot of people wanted us to get married really quickly.
We could not afford both internet and TV.
I hated it. I hated every bit of it, but I look back now and I'm like, that built so much grit within me to where if I can do that, anything else is absolutely achievable. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to Austin and Stacie LaCroix, owners of the Talons Group, a premier real estate and development firm in East Alabama. As generous supporters of Baby Steps, they believe deeply in our mission because they too lived a similar story themselves. As college students facing an unplanned pregnancy, they navigated uncertainty, sacrifice, and the challenges of building a future for their young family. Today, they are passionate advocates for students facing unplanned pregnancies and a powerful testament to the fact that an unplanned pregnancy does not have to stand in the way of success. If you're listening for the first time, we're so glad you're here. This podcast exists because of generous donors who believe no student mom should ever have to face an unplanned pregnancy alone. If that mission moves you, we'd love for you to consider making a tax-deductible gift. Just click the link in our show notes. And if you're enjoying these conversations, one of the easiest and most powerful ways you can support us is by leaving a 5-star review. It helps more people discover these brave and beautiful stories. Well, Austin and Stacie, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. I am so excited to be interviewing a couple so that we can get both sides of your unplanned pregnancy story, because I feel like your experiences, although similar, probably a little different at the same time.
Oh,
Sure.
yeah, for sure.
We're excited to be here.
So take our listeners back. How did the two of you end up meeting?
Facebook.
Do you want to go first or me?
Facebook.
Austin's going to be hard on me. He's going to give me one-word answers like a man.
No, so he went to the same school starting in 8th grade that I left in 8th grade. So we just missed each other in elementary and junior high school. So I went to the graduation there because I knew a lot of the people graduating and happened to see him walk down the hallway when we were entering and leaving. Asked my friend who he was, and I friend requested him on Facebook, and that was pretty much the end of it at that point until about 2 months later.
8th grade goes way back. Holy cow.
So, well, no, we didn't meet in 8th grade. We just missed each other, but we had the same friend group, but we never met each other. So this was senior. Yeah, so this was senior year in high school.
Okay.
I think like 2 months after that, Facebook used to tell you who was on. He was on. I messaged him and asked when he started going to Lee Scott, and his mom was actually the one that messaged me back. It wasn't him. I didn't know that at the time. Just like a one-word answer, just simple. And so I was like, okay, well, I left in the 8th grade, so that's why we don't know each other.
Wow.
And then he got back on, I guess, a day or two later. I guess his mom told him that I messaged him and asked me for my number, and that was about it.
So did y'all go on like a first date and meet up?
Yeah.
We did. And typically back then I was like hey, let's go to a nice fancy restaurant. For some reason we ended up at Sonic.
Low pressure. The whole relationship, low pressure from the get-go.
Yeah, it really was. It really was.
Oh, I love this. Well, we all know we're on this podcast to talk about unplanned pregnancies. And honestly, the way that our family might present, getting pregnant outside of wedlock or waiting until you're married, it can impact us, for our future. So what messages growing up did y'all hear about pregnancy or motherhood or doing it the right way? Was that ever a conversation in your house?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. My parents, they were very open about that. We grew up in a family dynamic that we communicated well and openly about that. But it crept in, and to me, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would tell myself, hey, stay pure, and hold to those values that your parents are teaching you. But at the same time, I wouldn't change a thing in the world because it's got me to where I am today and made me into the person I am today.
Absolutely. What about you, Stacie?
My family didn't discuss it much. We were very, I don't want to say like closed off about it, but my mom had had a history with it that for a long time I did not know about. So for a long time, she had a hard time discussing things along that line with us because she was still struggling through what she went through when she was younger. So we didn't talk about it, a lot. It was just kind of a known thing that we learned, through health and school and church. But we did not have like a one-on-one discussion like Austin had.
Which is pretty typical, honestly. But I feel like things are changing these days. I feel like there's more of an open conversation happening between parents and children. And I know, at least for myself, I'm like, I'll be darned if you are going to learn what this is all about from your peers who don't quite exactly know what this is all about.
Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about your college experience before your unplanned pregnancy. What was college like? Where did y'all go? What was a typical day in the life?
So we both stayed here at Auburn. And we, being from Auburn and growing up here, we kind of, did the whole freshman, kids go wild when we were seniors in high school. So by the time we got to college, we were kind of over the bar scene. So we really just hung out with our friends and stuff at other people's apartments.
Yeah. We had a lot of house parties.
All right. And then finding out you're pregnant. Stacie, do you still remember what that day was like?
Yes, I actually thought Austin had given me food poisoning from cooking.
Stop. Okay, we need to hear the story. Walk us through, how did you find out you were pregnant? Why did you think it was Austin who gave you food poisoning? This is going to be wild.
I'll preface this, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, so back then, and Stacie will argue that now, but back then I really enjoyed cooking. And so I cooked that night, what I make, shrimp fettuccine Alfredo?
Shrimp Alfredo, yeah.
Yes.
So was this like a date night type deal? You were cooking
it was just at my apartment. He cooked it, no big deal. And then the next morning I woke up to get ready for class and I was so sick. I mean, it was not going away, so sick. I think I texted him at one point, and I was like, you gave me food poisoning. Like, you didn't cook this right.
My fault.
And he was like, well, I'm not sick, so maybe it's just a stomach bug. I was like, this is not a stomach bug. Like, this is different. Like, so like the day went on, and I think around lunch, I was just like, this is not getting any better no matter what I was trying to do. So I think he was going to bring me something for lunch, and I was like, can you, grab a pregnancy test? I don't know if we had one. I don't really remember. And he was like, why? And I was like, something's wrong. And he was like, I was like, just please, just bring it.
Yeah.
And so he did, and he like sat on the couch and was eating lunch, not a care in the world. And I went to the bathroom, and I remember just sitting there like not thinking it was that big of a deal. And for some odd reason, I just had this overwhelming feeling come over me before the test was even ready. And it was like the whole world started going really slow. The dial, I felt like, got like slower and slower. It was turning, and it just popped up and said pregnant. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I think I stayed in there for a little bit, and I remember coming around the corner and I could see the back of him because the hall was like his back from the couch. He was watching TV. And I remember just not wanting to tell him because he didn't have a care in the world at that moment. And I didn't want that overwhelming feeling that I had to come over him. So I don't even think I said anything. I think he just turned around and looked at me, and I just saw it drain out of his face. And so he gave me a hug, and he was like, "It's going to be okay." And he looked at me and he said, "I'll be right back." And he leaves.
No.
Yes. And
You
I'm
didn't tell her
like,
where you were
Not
going.
good in that moment.
no, he did
I
not.
just
He just
bolted.
he said, "I'll be right back." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, he just left me. He's not coming back."
Oh, no.
Like, what? I'm going to be doing this all by myself. And it was probably about 15 minutes he was gone.
Oh my God.
And I heard him pull up, and he comes back in and he hands me a CVS bag. And I open it, and there's like every different brand of pregnancy test was in that bag. And he was like, try one of these.
Oh my God.
I think she took all of them.
Now looking back, it was very sweet of him, but I was like, that CVS clerk was like, "Dude, she's pregnant. It's not going to change because of the test." So,
Austin, what was going through your mind from the point before you left the house to as you're probably frantically going through CVS and pouring them into your car?
Breaking them into my car. When she turned the corner coming out of that bathroom, and I saw her face, my whole world just stopped. Not like a flash before your eyes, but it was a point where, like, I have all these plans of what I'm going to do with my life after graduation and go all these places, accomplish all these things, and it's like, boom, reality just hits you in the face. And the first thought was, well, I guess it could be a false positive. I need to go try another test. So I was like, I'll be back. I left. I walked in the store, asked where they were. I find them, and I'm like, we're going with every brand. So I probably spent $100 on pregnancy tests. I don't know how much they cost. They are. Yeah. And so I check out and get back, and she did take another one, and it was positive as well. But I remember after that, we were in the kitchen, she was crying, and I told her it's all going to be okay. And I just had a sense about me that it's time to grow up, and I have to figure this out, and we're going to do it together.
Wow. That's not the typical reaction that we hear from men. It hits everybody differently, but a lot of times the men bolt. I mean, statistics prove that the men tend to want to make it not happen, make it disappear, number one, or pretend like it never happened. And so what an admirable thing to stand there and say, we're going to do this together, because that is often not the side of the story that we hear. It takes a lot to have that courage to make that decision in that moment. So thinking through who you're going to tell next, what's going through your mind? Are you thinking we've got to tell mom and dad first, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think at that point, Stacie, she was really sick. So she reached out to her mom, or actually you reached out to you called the doctor's office trying to get in.
Yes, well, we went and told your mom first. Your dad was gone. So we told her that night, and then she, was happy and excited.
We're boohooing at the time.
Yeah, asked why we were upset. And we were like, well, we don't know what we're doing. Yeah. And then I was nervous about telling my parents. And it was really because I would not even hold Austin's hand or give him a hug in front of my parents.
They never saw us kiss.
That's a big jump from barely holding hands to hello, we are now expecting a baby.
Yes.
And I think the reason for that is because I did not truly know my mom's whole story.
Okay.
So I was nervous at how they were going to take it. So, but I tried to call the doctor the next morning to get in. They told me that they couldn't see me for 2 weeks. And I just looked at him and I was like, I won't make it being this sick. in 2 weeks. And so I did not want to tell my parents like this, but I immediately just called my mom. I knew she was on her way to work, and she answered the phone. And now that I have kids, I've probably scared her to death because I was just bawling and couldn't say anything at first. And she was like, "Stacie, what's wrong?" And so finally I was like, "I'm pregnant. I am so sick. They can't get me in for 2 weeks. I can't keep going like this." And she didn't say anything. She was like, okay, hang on. I'll call you right back. So I think she got off the phone with me. She called me right back. She got me in that afternoon. And then after she calmed me down, she started just talking to me. And she was like, "It's going to be okay." Sorry. She had had an abortion when she was 16 that was more forced on her from her family than anything. It was something that she did not want. So that was her story. And I just remember her telling me on the phone, "I will never do to you what my mom did to me." And so she was like, we'll get you to the doctor. And then she hung up, and probably about 5 minutes, 10 minutes later, I get a text from my dad. And he said another word in the text, but I won't say it on here, but he was like, "Crap happens. It's going to be okay." So
Simple
they took
as
it.
that.
Yes, simple. And they both, my mom got to work helping me get to the doctor. They kind of just hit the ground running just to do what they could do. So it was definitely a huge weight off of my shoulders about that. So
Absolutely. Such a different response than I feel like a lot of people get. Number one,
Yeah.
did you feel like that was the response you were going to receive from them when telling them?
no,
Which is
Not at all.
wild. Which is wild. Had you known your mom's full story at that point, or is this something that eventually she opened up and talked to you about?
she eventually, I had known that she had had an abortion. I did not know when, and I didn't know why or how it happened. And then since we've had Bentley, she has really turned the corner. She's really involved with Women's Hope. She has done their Bible study, and I even think she's taught one now. And so she finally told her story out loud. And so I really got to understand. So, she struggled with it all through I was little, up until she was, confident and encouraged enough to tell her side of the story too.
Wow, that is so brave of her. So incredibly brave, because a lot of these women, they feel that shame so heavily, and they keep that secret hidden, and it just festers and festers. And to know that she's using it as a platform to reach other women and to help them, what a beautiful thing to do. And then now to see your unplanned pregnancy story, and you on this podcast reaching other women and encouraging them, the two of you, man, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree as far as inspiration goes. That's for sure. How did having an unplanned pregnancy in college, knowing you're expecting this baby, affect your relationship?
So we had been dating, 3 years at the time? And so we had a strong relationship. We were kind of already planning our future together. And when we found out about this, a lot of people, mainly on my side, wanted us to get married really quickly. And we decided as a couple that we didn't want that. We wanted to wait throughout the pregnancy, and then after a year of being engaged, then we would have a wedding.
Okay.
And so that was really hard for a lot of people to swallow, specifically my mom and dad, and then their church family. So it took some time and some healing. I think we've come a long way from that now. Obviously, we have 4 kids now. But I think the biggest thing with being in school was I couldn't focus anymore. I tried. My dad, he was in a position where he was actually paying me per hour to go to class and paying for my school.
Okay.
And so I would go to class, and I remember sitting there around a table with all these other students, and I'm just sitting there thinking, like, none of them know what's going on. Like, none of them know that I have a baby on the way. Like, they're just not a care in the world, just another day, another class. And so for me, I struggled with honestly just focusing on school.
Absolutely. And Stacie, did you feel comfortable talking to your professors and other, campus employees, anybody that you were, involved with at the time, whether it be sorority or clubs? Did people know about your unplanned pregnancy at the time?
So when I found out, it was probably in September. And at first I was okay emailing my professors and telling them kind of like what was going on. I was actually the treasurer of a club with the university. And I went and told one of the professors that was over that club, who was a single lady. She did not have any kids, and she didn't take it well. She immediately wanted me to step down. She told me that I couldn't do the job anymore. My feet were going to swell. My whole body was going to swell. It was just going to be hard for me to do it. And I remember getting extremely angry during that meeting. And basically that was like the first time I had to stand up for myself to somebody regarding what was going on. Cause she didn't know how I felt at that time. I actually felt great by then. But I ended up basically fighting to keep that role as treasurer for that club. And we basically had it down where there was another student that would take over about 2 months before I knew I was going to have Bentley. And so it all worked out fine. But yes, I did have some pushback from some professors.
I can relate to that 100% because the exact same thing happened. I was the president of Best Buddies at that time for 2 years when I was pregnant. And the leader of that, on-campus club, she basically had said that I was unfit at that point to lead. And I find that interesting. And I don't know if it's more of kind of an older school mentality or what, of just like, okay, you've made a mistake. We need to like hide you away. You aren't capable anymore. But being pregnant does not make you incapable of anything. I feel like if anything, it makes you more capable because now everything you do, you are doing it for your child at that point.
Right.
Every spare minute you are investing into something, you're truly doing that, is you're making an investment. So I can relate, and I really hope times change. I really hope conversations like this will help people understand that that's really an old school mentality of hide them away. Don't make sure nobody knows. They're not able to do, what they had signed up to do, because we are fully capable, if not more than our peers.
Right.
Now, a lot of times our friend circles change, our life is turned upside down, and we start to grieve certain aspects of our old life. Were there any things that y'all felt you had to grieve?
Our friend circle definitely changed. All of our friends were super supportive. Never judged us. Obviously, in the early stages of that pregnancy, we still hung out. We still went to dinner and stuff like that. But as it progressed and became more obvious, it was natural. At that point, we're on a different chapter in our life,
Right.
and they are still in that college scene.
Yes.
And so we just naturally drifted apart from a lot of the group of people. A lot of those, though, they stayed friends with us to this day.
Oh, I love that. And the beauty in y'all's story is you have each other too. A lot of these women that I interviewed, they don't have the man standing by their side and walking through this. So their whole life is completely turned upside down. So in those early weeks, what did support look like for you guys? Where did you wish you had more support, or maybe it taught you something? And where did support end up showing up from?
I think for us, our parents were there, um, but there was no like freebies, like no, it wasn't just given to us. They were there to support us if we needed to talk, if we needed advice. But other than that, we had to figure this out on our own. And I think at the time it was sometimes hurtful and frustrating. We did not have a pot to pee in. I worked for $7.25 an hour, and Austin got paid $10 an hour, and I was still going to school. So then we had rent, and when Bentley got here, we had to figure out childcare. So it was really hard. But I think looking back on now, we are very grateful for them saying no and not helping as much as we would have wished for them to help during that time, because it really taught Austin and I to just depend and lean on each other, which is still what we do to this day.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the brick and mortar process. I mean, truly, you're laying a foundation brick by brick. And, when I think back on my own experience and how far even my husband and I have come, we have so many shared experiences when struggling, which truly laid a really firm foundation for our marriage. Because if we can get through that, we can face anything else. And I wouldn't take it back for anything in the world. We had another podcast guest. I think it was, oh my gosh, Sandy and Greg Williams. And they were like, listen, I don't wish people's financial struggles, but I kind of do when they get married, because if they struggle financially and they can make it out of that, the rest of the marriage is a cakewalk.
We did. So we could not afford both internet and TV.
Stop.
And so I had to have internet to finish school. And my mom finally went to my dad and was like, Terry, she needs a TV in case there's bad weather here. Like they can't just be stuck at home, and she can't watch weather. So they figured out a way to get us TV temporarily so we could have the news.
Like Jerry rigged it or something?
Yes, he did.
Not illegally. He was paying for it.
He was paying for
we
it.
weren't stealing cable.
It was almost like it was another room in their house, but we weren't.
Hey.
So that's how we got our TV. But I do remember, I'm like the finance one in our relationship. But I do remember the first time we had $25 left over at the end of the month after we paid everything. And I was just like ecstatic. I think I called him and texted him and was so excited. And he was like, that's great, but we've got a long way to go.
Oh my goodness. And I think what also gets lost in today's world is a lot of younger people look at successful couples now and they're like, man, they've always had this. It's been smooth sailing for them. I wish that's what my life was. And a lot of the times they don't realize that there were struggles, there were hard times. And it's really those hard times that help build the character that pushes you forward till you finally do hit success. You learn to never give up and to keep pushing forward.
Right.
Absolutely. The world now, it's all instant gratification. And a lot of the younger generation, they just think that, you get out of school and you make all this money and you get all these things, but it takes time. It takes struggle. And like you said, that builds that character where when you do get to that point, you don't just it doesn't vanish from you.
Exactly. You knew what it took to get there, the hard work that was put in. And when I look back at my story too, waitressing 9 months pregnant, going to school during the day, waitressing at night, I hated it. I hated every bit of it. But I look back now and I'm like, I had a freaking girl. Like that built so much grit within me to where if I can do that, Anything else is
We
absolutely
can do anything.
doable. Yes, absolutely. So what did a day look like for you guys once baby was here and you're balancing work and college and all the things?
Oh my gosh, we were so blessed when Bentley arrived. She was 6 weeks old. Stacie was getting ready to go back to school, and we were introduced to a nanny, Miss Bernice, and she has been with us ever since.
Whoa.
She is a part of our family. She is another grandmother to our kids. We will do anything and anything we can for her. And she has taken care of us for a long time. So that was pretty much why she was able to go back to school. I was able to work full time, and Bentley started off. She was going half a day to preschool at the time, but after that, Miss Bernice had her the rest of the time.
Wow. And take us to graduation day. What did that day feel like for you guys, knowing you had overcome so much?
It was kind of surreal, honestly. It was almost like a day that I felt like wasn't ever going to get here. But having Bentley and going to school, like I did better that semester than I did my whole college career. And I was like, I could have done so much better freshman, sophomore, because I didn't even have a kid then. But no, it was great. It was cool to have Bentley there. She was only about 8, 9 months old at that time. But it was good to have her there. And hopefully, when she grows up and sees that, she'll be proud that she was able to be there. She actually rubs it in her brother's face sometimes of all the experiences she got to have with us, and they weren't around. But it was good. It was definitely hard. I basically worked enough to pay for Bernice and her childcare while I was at work. And then Austin was putting in, 60, 70 hours a week just for us to come out $25 ahead every month. So it was difficult. We didn't, get to do a lot of fun things, but we had fun together. And, we struggled as far as, what we're going to eat for dinner if we were out of groceries and we didn't have enough yet because he hadn't gotten paid. And so I think there was a couple of times where we would text our parents and be like, hey, do you want to do dinner? Because we knew that they would either make something. Yeah, they would either make something at their house or they would take us out to eat. And we were so tired of like cereal and sandwiches, but I don't think they've ever known that. They will now, I guess. But so, I mean, looking back now, we're grateful for the struggle that we had. We definitely wouldn't be the people that we are today if we wouldn't have gone through it.
Absolutely. This is a topic that's not really talked about. I mean, truly, we have searched the web. Like, are there any other podcasts that really talk in depth about the struggle of having an unplanned pregnancy in college? And it's really not there. And I feel like a part of that is because once women have experienced this, there's still shame that's attached to the experience. And then as soon as they get married, they're tempted to just brush it under the rug and not talk about it ever again and just pray that no one does the math and sees that like that child's age compared to how many years they've been married is a little bit off. But this is such an honor to be able to bring guests on to share their story and to share their narrative of what happened. What are your hopes for the future when it comes to conversations surrounding unplanned pregnancies?
I would think that, first of all, I would have loved a program like Baby Steps to be around when I went through it. I think when it happened to us, we were so lost. We didn't know how to navigate this. There's judgment, fear, and one of the first events I went to as Baby Steps was one of the galas. And there was a girl, and we had taken some people in our office. We had bought tickets and kind of went as a group. And there was a girl that shared her story. And I want to say she was probably about our age. And I had never talked about my story really. I'd never put it out there. kind of the same thing. The fear of when people calculate how long Austin and I have been married and how old Bentley is, like it still hits me sometimes. It's still a work in progress to get over. But, you know, she shared her story, and I remember, thankfully, my back was turned to our table, but I started getting really emotional because, yes, it was just what she described that she went through, and her feelings and the fear that she had was literally everything that I had gone through. And I remember sitting there going, my gosh, I was not alone. Like, there were other people who have walked the same exact walk that I have, who have felt the same thing. Like, they understand. And so I just remember thinking, like, that was kind of a weight off of me too, because for so long, even though I knew there were unplanned pregnancies, for so long I had just told myself that, you know, my situation was unique. I'm the only one that has felt like this. So it's been great to hear other people's stories. And I think, like, for me, my hope is if someone's going through this, really just letting them know that they're not alone, that somebody has walked this path before too. And, like, we may not know you, but we are here if you ever wanted to talk, if you need guidance, if you need help. Like, so that's what I would love to get out of this, is just a sense of community.
Absolutely. What about you, Austin? Especially speaking to the men, you know, that's a demographic that often isn't thought a whole lot about. A lot of times it does become pouring into the woman and pouring into the baby, but there are men also involved in this equation. What are your hopes that would be a resounding piece of advice for men who are terrified because their girlfriend is unexpectedly pregnant?
Well, you know, like I described, I had that same feeling of time stopping that she described. And so we share that emotion with the woman. We're just taught as a society that men just kind of brush it under. But that's one thing that at this point, getting involved in baby steps is I want to be available to these young men. And if they need a mentor, if they need to come sit down and talk, if they need help, I mean, I would absolutely love to give them direction. There's a generation of kids out there that they need their fathers. And I don't know what I would do if I didn't have my dad and how he was just impactful in my life. But your kids need you, and they need you in every shape and form, especially in the world we are now. And so whatever I can do, I am always available for that.
I love that. You know, as generous supporters of baby steps, what would you say to somebody thinking about donating or just getting involved and wanting to volunteer? What advice or what would you say to them?
Don't wait a second. You are able to impact not only the student's life, but generations after that. And what we're doing here in Auburn and now spreading all over the country one day, it's incredible. And if you just listen to these girls, these stories, it will break your heart for them.
What about you, Stacie?
Kind of what he said on helping baby steps isn't just, you know, helping now. I mean, you're helping generational after generation after generation. And what I did was a mistake. But at the end of the day, we were blessed with a beautiful gift, a beautiful baby that has the whole, you know, their whole life ahead of them. And, you know, I think if someone just helps to just give them an opportunity, to just give them some guidance, I think, again, generationally, it'll just keep moving forward, and they'll keep passing it down because they'll remember how someone helped them. And so that's kind of what Austin and I have just been trying to do and blessed to do, is just to keep pouring in and keep helping where we can, because we see the benefit of it because we're living through it.
Absolutely. You know, unplanned pregnancies, they are an epidemic in the United States. 1 out of every 4 women will have experienced an unplanned pregnancy, with the majority of those happening to college age women. This is not a statistic that's going down. It is what it is. And so to be able to have resources like Baby Steps at Auburn University and the University of Alabama, and hopefully one day Tennessee and Illinois and all these special places, we really are hoping to lay the foundation, like y'all said, for generational change. It's not just about that baby. It's not just about that mom. It's about a future as a family unit to be able to be poured into and given hope, given the stories like this podcast. If there's not a Baby Steps yet on their campus, we hope they can listen to your podcast and hear, okay, we can do this. You know, we don't have to drop out. We don't have to make a decision that we feel pressure to make. We can have our education and our baby. And look at this couple who has walked through that and they're on the other end. Sometimes just hearing those stories of hope truly can change the trajectory of people's lives. And so thank you so much, Stacie and Austin, for being so vulnerable, for coming on the podcast, for sharing your story. I know it's going to reach many, many people, and we appreciate all that you do for Baby Steps.
Absolutely. And thank you for what you do in this vision.
Yes. Well, for all of our listeners, we hope to have you back for our next episode of Unplanned and Untold. Bye-bye. Unplanned and Untold drops new episodes every other Wednesday. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe and give us a 5-star review if you love this episode. I'm Caitlin Willing, and this is Unplanned and Untold.